going, everybody? This is Kevin Bradford, aka Kevin Corp, singer, songwriter, salesperson / budding entrepreneur. This is going to be a quick introduction, and then we're going to jump right into the interview. Go ahead, my friend.
Oh, excellent. Well, that was a quick introduction. Hey, Kevin, thanks for taking the time to come here and meet on Zoom. And let's talk about Spellgrounds and Khalsa Brain Games. For those who don't know, I'm Japji Khalsa, one of the founders of Khalsa Brain Games and creators of Spellgrounds.
Awesome.
Creators of Spellgrounds.
Awesome. So thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I'm so excited to do this interview. I've always wanted to talk to you about all of these things. See, and it's funny, mine personally is the 97 Worlds, the purple. That is one of my dream mats. I have like a list that it kept getting longer and longer. I was like, yeah, my top 5 mats that I want to have ended up as 15, then like 20, and I'm like, I'm just gonna have a wall of framed mats all over the place. And just that's the dream.
Oh, I love that. I mean, you did ask me about the world's mat, and I kind of dodged that answer, sort of like a political debate when I didn't answer correctly. I missed the question. But here's the answer to the question about the actual world's mats. They were really fun to do, and they were a challenge because they were, we had done single color up to that point, and most of the world's mats at least had 2 or maybe 3 colors. Mm-hmm. And that's where I go back to this woman, and I wish I could remember her name right now, who was our screen printer at the time. Her specialty was printing high-end, like fabric wallpaper. And okay. or stuff for fashion, really high-end stuff where she'd put images on a long conveyor belt. She had these long, big wide screen printers that would, come down onto the fabric rolls as they would go. And so that her expertise is what actually helped make those world's mats, because she understood how to get the registration we needed and push down one image, and then the thing rolls along, you hit the other image. The challenge with that, of course, was that you're printing onto the actual rolls of fabric rather than cut pieces and panels of fabric. So okay. All of it was run. We would literally have to hand cut everything and cut them into this sizes. And I think most of those mats don't have rounded corners. I may be wrong. They're probably square cut mats because we didn't round the corners at that time.
Yeah, well, all the ones that I've seen have looked incredible. The coloring, everything, they just look great too. Every world's mat I've ever seen. I'm a big fan.
There is a mat that came out like the first year they didn't use this, and I saw it on eBay the other day, and I was like, wow, that they went from this quality of mat, like this is the world's mat, it's kick-ass, it's beautiful. And then it was like, well, here's kind of a mat you can have if you're a world champion. It's like, you could see on the picture, it just wasn't a Spellground,
That's so fair. So now, what are some other projects that you've done with your business? I've seen you talk about so many different ventures, and the shirt that you're wearing, if I'm correct.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Right. So as Jeff mentioned, and you're asking about, I am a person who, if I love to do something, I do something, and then sometimes it turns into money, and that's good, and other times it turns into huge losses, and it's not as good. But I gave it a shot. I mean, I can. At one point, I was early on into virtual worlds. And I invested kind of heavily in virtual land and virtual real estate. And it's a real thing, but I, never made any money doing that. So that's the thing about being a businessman is not all of them are going to hit. And that reminds me of the David S. Pumpkins video. If you haven't seen it, look up David S. Pumpkins on YouTube for Halloween. And the David S. Pumpkin video, they're in the elevator and the guy says, hey, there's 100 floors of flights. They can't all be winners, So that's the way it is with business. But my other ones that have been mostly successful, Manifest struggled for a few years, and Manifest was clearly based on Magic, and it was a collectible card game convention. It was quite successful for the first couple of years, and as again Magic started to wane a little bit, it was becoming a challenge to keep it going. for several different reasons. But one of them was that it had this moniker of collectible card game. And as the European board game invasion started to happen, people didn't associate Manifest with gaming, broader.
Yeah.
We tried to make it a convention that was for everybody, but people didn't get it. So we actually expanded, and that's where we came up with KublaCon, and rebranded that and started that. In the first year of KublaCon was year 2000, and I ran that for almost 20 years. Wow, Manifest 2000, yeah. So just about 20 years I ran that conventions. I'd been running conventions for 25 years. And so just last year, I actually sold KublaCon to some of the people that were involved in it. And I feel both good about that and really sad about that, because nobody saw COVID coming. And it is my hope that, that we have a KublaCon. It's a really fantastic convention. It's really fun. People love it. And I hope that we can either have some version of it this year in 2021, maybe not, but 2022 for certain.
Yeah, 2022 is probably the play.
Yeah. But that's one thing that I do. And then the other thing that I do, and this, I don't talk too much about this with the gaming community, I guess, but, when I was a kid, when I was 10 years old, actually, funny stories. So, sorry, I ramble on, don't I?
No, you're right. This is what this is for.
So when I was 8 years old, I produced my first event.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So that's how, you can, sometimes kids just, they got a purpose, I guess. So
yeah, that's fair.
We lived in this apartment complex, and all the kids during the summer, we're all running around riding our bikes or whatever. And my brother and I was like, hey, let's produce a show on the tennis courts. Okay. Circus show. And we got all the kids to do some little goofy act, and we charged a nickel for, everybody that came in. We had chairs, and all the parents came for the show day. And we made some money, but some teenage girls stole it from us. But that was the first produced event. And
yeah, I consider that a success. That's fair. Yeah, I consider that a success.
But the other thing that I was really into was cameras. I loved taking pictures. I had my own darkroom when I was 10 years old or 11, or developed some of my own film, and not really a darkroom. I didn't have a space for that. But that was something that, again, just, called out to me. And in the course of that, I was kind of blessed to be in a school, intermediate school, high school system, that public school, that just at the time was very invested in media. In those days, it was old videotape. They didn't have what they have now.
Yeah.
And so I was actually very involved in those programs in those school days. And that was ultimately my chosen career. So when I was 16, and this would have been about 1975 or so, I was working in video production. I was doing actual live broadcast TV shows. I was working in a video truck, and I remember my very first job was it was a boxing match, and there was a slide tray that would circle around, dropping the slide of each boxer in, and sometimes that slide tray would jam, and my job was to take a comb and jam the slide in case it jammed, and so that's what I did. And I did that in high school. I went to one day of college for TV and broadcast. One day, I did 2 years of junior college, one day of full college. I walked into this college, San Francisco State. It has a great television program. And I spent the day going to courses. And I remember at the end of the day, standing at an intersection in a big building. There was big hallways, and there was a big hallway going one direction, another going the other direction, and a doorway going out. And I walked out that door thinking to myself, these people in this program would give their right arm to do what I'm already doing. And I dropped out of school, focused 100% on video production, stage production. And I've been doing that ever since. originally sound person, grip, lighting, those things, dolly grip, a little bit of everything when you're a freelancer, whatever you can do.
Yeah.
You take the work when it comes in. Ultimately, it turned into this really kind of odd. There's a whole stories about this. You could do an interview on this, but I'll make it short. Sorry.
No problem.
So it turns into this. I ended up doing teleprompting. So teleprompting is what the newscasters use to read the words on the screen, and you can't see it because it goes through a two-way mirror. And I got involved in that because I was stage managing at KQED, which is the local public television station, and the stage managers there, by union rules, they had to run the teleprompter. So I was running this teleprompter, and I realized at some point that nobody in the San Francisco Bay Area actually had a teleprompter to rent. So again, making a longer story short, I was able to kind of lease something like that and start a business as freelance teleprompting.
Okay.
That became an actual business called Magic Teleprompting. And I've been doing teleprompting for corporate live music stuff for all these years, since 1984. That's when that started.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
See that, oh my God. Yeah. See, that's such an inspiration. And I won't even get into that, but that's a different interview for a different time. That's so much. But it's great to see how that built, the entrepreneurship, it was there since that first little event you started when you were 8, you can see it. So now
I hear a piece of wisdom from the old man. They say that luck is a combination of opportunity and preparation. And a couple of times in this, interview, I've said, I was just lucky. And maybe that's true on some level, but on another level, being prepared, prepared to whatever that opportunity is, and then opportunity, seizing the opportunity to do something with what you've done, and that's luck, And I wish
you had laid the groundwork, obviously, and every time these came up, absolutely. Oh, I've learned all about that. Right now. Totally different interview, different time. We could go hours on that.
Yeah.
Now, I want to ask, was Khalsa Brain a success from the beginning, or was it tough to start? When it started, did it just pop off? Or did you have some issues with it?
It was a success from the beginning, but it wasn't a raging success. And again, that partly goes back to having to deal with distributors and distribution.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it afforded us the opportunity to do certain fun things like go to Gen Con and go to some of the large conventions in the country to as a vendor, and kind of become part of the club, the game design club.
Yeah.
And so we actually had other products too that we came out with, and one of them, oddly enough, was pretty successful for a long time. One of my favorite games at the time was Formula Day, or Formula D, as the case might be. It's a little racing game with cars, plastic cars. We decided to create Formula Racers, and those were, little metal cars that you could paint for the game. And we sold those for a bunch of years too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys just had your hands in everything.
I had my hands in everything, and I have even designed a game. I don't know if you know, Kevin, but most people don't. It was an okay game. Yeah, it was an okay game. You can find it. It's on. I think it's still on Amazon. It's called Dwarven Dig, D-I-G with an exclamation point, and it was really fun to go down that path of designing a game and getting it published. We actually had. Oddly enough, we had 3 different publishers. The first publisher paid us a bunch of money up front, but was never able to produce the game. And this is right after the European invasion was coming. American companies didn't understand how to make games. Most of them didn't. These were companies. The first company was AEG, who at that time was creating a really popular card game, Legend of the Five Rings. And so they wanted to break in the board game market, and they bought Dwarven Dig from my co-designer, Anthony Gallela. And he and I, actually, Anthony Gallela and I were partners in after Jeff left Khalsa Brain Games, he and I were partners in Manifest and Kubla Khan for a bunch of years. So I've designed a game. It was a fun process. It wasn't very profitable. God bless those game designers. It's a lot of work, and really, it's you know, the payback is that you got your game published and people are playing it, and that's
yeah.
You know.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's about the stories.
Yeah.
You know, and you got plenty of them, it sounds like. So was there ever a time with Khalsa Brain that you guys, or you, I don't know if it was just you or you and Jeff at this point, but have you ever wanted to call it quits? And what, yeah, obviously you didn't, what kept you going? If you did.
I'm not sure I ever pulled the trigger on calling it quits, but there was that period between, you know, that sort of dry period where we weren't really making Spellgrounds. And I wasn't motivated to create more Spellgrounds at the time. I didn't feel there was demand for it. It was a lot of work. I knew I couldn't get the V1 fabric. And again, at that time, we didn't call it V1 fabric. I just knew I couldn't get a fabric that I liked. And, but I kept it going in part because of the other products that I had, like formula racers and little things that were like, I liked having a company that was a game company and being in the business.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'd say maybe subconsciously I called it quits for a few years there because I just wasn't motivated. I became motivated again, and I was excited then, and still am excited about what we're doing. Yeah.
And I don't think that's an uncommon thing with businessmen, artists, and anything. You know, I myself have dealt with that, and it's just a thing, not a good or bad thing.
You're right. I think sometimes it takes stepping away from something to kind of, and even the fans had to do that. You know, I think, you know, they had to kind of disappeared for a while. And then somebody like found a Spellground in their closet, and they like, well, I don't know what to do with this. They put it on eBay or something. They get $100 for it, and they're like, oh my God. You know, so who knows?
Yeah, it goes through cycles.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I'm gonna guess after you had that, well, I guess we'll call it a sabbatical, you just took your time, just relaxed for a bit. When you came back, did it just come back in full force?
Yeah, it came back in full force, and it did start with that visit to the fabric store in Pittsburgh, and that, you know. But I think just before that is when somebody pointed out that there were, you know, that the Spellgrounds were collectible, and that kind of like piqued my interest, you know, like that, and it probably inspired me to go into that store and say, well, let's just see, you know, if there's fabric here. And then when it did, it was like, okay, wow, we did this. We still had the website. I'm not sure what we even had on the website for all those down years, but it was still going. And it did. It came back like gangbusters. I mean, if you remember when we first started releasing those, we would sell them out so fast, and we were putting limits on how many people could buy. And it was painful to do that because, you know, who doesn't want to sell all their product as fast as they can? But at the same time,
yeah.
I wanted to spread the love out a little bit and let people have our Spellgrounds, you know.
Yeah, no, I remember how hard it was to get an Onyx, the V2 Onyx. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I couldn't.
I get people asking about the Catalina all the time, by the way.
Always, I imagine. I wasn't even going to ask. I already know. It's the Catalina is one of the favorites. Nope. Yeah, someone today actually messaged me, and they were like, hey, I'm talking about Catalina LTD, 1 out of 12. And I was like, don't get me started on Catalina LTD. He was like, I don't have it anymore. I'm sad. I was like, I don't want to hear anything of the amount of understanding I have for wishing you didn't move it. Oh my goodness. The Catalina LTD is beautiful.
Matt, that was,
yeah, absolutely.